Welcome, first of all, to Out and Out of Hinduism. This is our second Out and Out event. The first one was on October 3rd, that was Out and Out of Islam. We had a panel of ex-Muslims. We had a keynote by Faisal Saeed Al-Mutar. We had the panelists were from ex-Muslims in North America. And we had shout-outs from two ex-Muslim activists. It was a really great event, and we hope this one will be as good. So this is about atheists of Hindu background and the secular supporters, and it's about like the Out and Out events are generally aimed at atheists or non-believers of specific religious backgrounds, because everyone's coming out of a specific religious background. Your experiences being an ex-believer or a person from that background, a non-believer from that background, are different. So that's why we have the Out and Out events. So this one is. First of all, let me introduce ourselves. We're the Secular Society of MIT. We've been around for a while. We aim to promote secularism, atheist thought, and just provide support and community for atheists. And we're all about sharing our experiences with one another, sharing perspectives. We're welcome to all points of view. We welcome all to our events and to our meetings. So this event is about Hinduism. It's a religion of over adhered to or assumed to be adhered to by over 1 billion people, with its grand epics and its legends and the Vedas and the Puranas, and meditation, yoga, etc. It's all these cultural artifacts that are linked with the religion. It has spread broadly through, or historically spread broadly through many countries in the world. Buddhism, which has some kind of relation with Hinduism, also spread through East Asia. But when I went to Cambodia last year, for example, I saw the Mahabharata on the walls of the temples, and it's like quite a vibrant culture that spread. In a few cases, even militarily throughout Southeast Asia. So of course there was things happening in the intervening years. There were the Islamic invasions, and Buddhism waxed and waned, and in some places there was some changes, shifts in demographics and conquests and so on. So the population now is mainly concentrated in India, but there's a huge diaspora in many countries of the world. Some places even Hindus are in a significant minority, or even a relative majority.
So, go back to, in North America, what color is that? Is that the 5 to 15%?
No, it's lower than that. Yeah, it's very small.
Okay.
So we'll discuss all the things later. Okay. All right. So of course, Hinduism as a religion has many cultural artifacts associated with it. Some say it's not really a religion; it's more like a tradition. That you can, in fact, be a Hindu atheist. What is known is that there are many cultural artifacts that are inconvenient, or at least, in some cases, even harmful. There's the association with astrology. There's the various practices associated with Hinduism. Some are seen as like religiously obligated and so on. There's also like famously casteism is associated with some aspects of Hinduism. Some of it has been ossified into Hinduism, and sometimes it's erupted into all-out violence. Like here you have a temple which was claimed to have been built on the temple of Rama, who's the epic of whom we'll be watching today in a different, slightly alternative form. So on, various riots and things have spread throughout. That's interestingly had implications for Hindus in the diaspora. Some of them have become more conservative. This was a recent Hindus for Trump a hoarding, which portrayed Hillary and Sonia Gandhi as like devils trying to get Modi, who looks particularly panicked over there. And it's kind of gone all out in some cases, like in the UK even, like sometimes Hindus have made alliances with various far-right groups. Of course, when talking about Hinduism, you have to talk about India, because that's like the heartland and still the country with the majority of Hindus. And it's like, the question is like, secularism as it relates to Hinduism in India, is India really all that secular? Because if you look at it, for example, with the Constitution of India itself has like this special exception made for this particular species of bovine that prohibits its slaughter, and that has actually had actual effects in various places in the country to varying degrees. Sometimes even outright in terms of just like meat, and sometimes even like, for example, there'll be a festival, for example, like a Jain festival was held recently, and the government just like banned all animal slaughter in the town. So, and also in secularism, in terms of like blasphemy laws, India doesn't have a blasphemy law, but at the same time there are certainly chilling effects that come from, well, it's actually a Victorian era law, but it's, I mean, we can't blame them forever. You know, this was carried on in the Indian Penal Code, and it's considered illegal to like insult people based on their religion. That could take various forms. It could include today's movie. So yeah, that's just what I want to get at, and that's where atheists come in, because we can be like a common enemy for the Hindus and the Muslims, and they can join together and blame us. So that's what we're all about, bringing people together. So sorry, we're just going to go to our film, which is about the Ramayana, and hopefully before that, our food should arrive. So please continue. Okay, thank goodness. Yes, that was the magic. Thanks for the attending. Yeah. So sorry first of all for the delayed start. We got here a bit late, and there was some confusion with payments and everything. So now we have some time for discussion. Does anyone have to leave like right now? You? But do you want to be in the raffle?
Not nice.
Okay, so we have this print official like merchandise from the film. So if you're going to stay for the raffle, then we can just. I'm sorry, if you're going to stay for the discussion, then we can raffle it after the discussion. Otherwise, anyone have to leave right now? Shall we do the discussion then? Okay. So, so what do you think of the film, first of all? Anyone have any opinions? Can raise hands? Thumbs up, okay. Yeah, there are a bunch of different animation styles. I actually seen the making of behind the scenes kind of video, and so what she's done is, of course, as you might have noticed, she based it on her own like experience with the breakup, and she's kind of this very like versatile in different art forms. She had a very talented team of animators working with her. She also integrated in the discussion of some Indian people, like you might have noticed, represented by the Indonesian puppets, the shadow puppets. So she used those as well to put some like context, but sort of a more casual kind of thing. Then also the dialogue, so the more like serious version, and then the more like comical version, and then also the musical version. So the music actually comes from Annette Hanshaw. She's kind of like, I guess, she's a singer, obviously. She's quite popular back, I think, in the early 20th century. That's actually kind of, I guess, related to Miss Paley's philosophy about like, you know, open access and copyleft and so on. So this is actually like, you know, the public domain, and this film itself is in the public domain, which is why when my DVD, I could not play it through the machine we had here. It didn't connect properly to the sound. We just played it from YouTube. So you can actually watch it on YouTube and screen it and everything. It's fully open access. Any other opinions on the film itself?
It was pretty funny.
Yeah, no,
It was pretty hilarious. I don't have that much access to India or South Asian culture, except except like my brother went to college, went to Oxford, and stuff like that. But in here, so.
Yeah.
But it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
I liked the animation quite a bit.
Okay.
And I thought the way that it was run, the plot was really good.
So the plot is the epic, the Ramayana. It's like this. It's probably one of the two great epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And so of course there's like the main character Rama, and then Sita, Hanuman, it's Lakshman over there, and Bharata and Shatrughan. And so the idea is like, there's this tale loyalty, in the face of whatever is thrown your way, and of course loyalty from both Rama and Sita, and so on. It's like this theme of duty, the perfect son, the perfect man. That's what the Rama's title is. I think Maryada Purushottam or something like that. So so like from the perspective of Indian culture and like Hindu culture, there's this like idealization of duty, like when people cast doubt on whether his wife was pure, he felt it was his duty, and that's how it's kind of viewed, I guess, to that she had to leave and so on. And there's also this like the trial by fire as well. That just purity, there's a trial by fire. So any thoughts about this, about like loyalty and duty and things like that in Hindu culture?
It's pretty interesting for me to, like over the years, when I keep rereading it and reflecting upon it more and more, how you view various values over time.
Yeah.
Like a lot of Ramayana is mainly about how you view this ideal person, your role model, right? That's what it's supposed to be. And lots of Indian culture still use it in the same way, that this is the ideal person, this is how someone is supposed to be. But the more you think about it, the more you realize, there are like so many flaws, and we still, neglect it, or we try to give a reason, like, oh, this is the reason why something's done. But this movie or this documentary, whatever you want to call it, they raise a lot of interesting questions in a humorous way, which I think is very important.
I've heard it described as a Sita, so it's like from the perspective of Sita. Like some people are surprised. Now it's more common knowledge, but actually there are many Ramayana. There are so many versions of it. And one of the complaints, I guess, raised against Ramanand Sagar's Ramayana, like back in the 80s, I think it was in the early 90s, where it was aired, it was like that this TV version that was watched by so many people only used that one North Indian version, right? And that was one of the complaints that raised against it. So it kind of goes against the pluralism, the whole and the kind of established sort of orthodoxy. Any thoughts about that?
Oh, I was going to go on a tangent, so
Yeah, go ahead.
But something that's interesting to me is how the concept of purity is so common in all different religions, and especially focused more on the purity of females. Seems very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, here in America, you have purity balls and purity rings, like where in Christian, is it just evangelicals or just?
I just came from a wedding actually, and that was very emphasized.
Yeah, there's like the girls wear purity rings until their weddings, and then they
Purity vows for their fathers. It's pretty creepy sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's the patriarchy, the Christian patriarchy.
I think this movie is a very good example of why the whole concept of cultural appropriation is absolute bullshit. Because this couldn't have been made by an Indian. One, because most Indians don't look at Ramayana the way Nina looks at it, and her perspective is so important. And I realized that this is the perspective that we were never taught or even encouraged to question Ramayana, which is looked at this as a holy book that should never be questioned. So I think it's only better when people come from different perspectives and kind of reinterpret holy books, so to say.
Yeah. Yes?
It's been shown in India?
Yes.
Has this been shown in India, and how would it be regarded by Hindu Karnakas?
So actually it wasn't even like publicly released. It's sort of one of those like independent, open kinds of films. So people are free to show it in India, people are free to view it in India, but it wasn't like a major theatrical release, I guess. So that's probably one of the reasons why it didn't attract as much ire, but it did attract quite a bit of ire on the internet. Like there were many blog posts and kind of irritated blog posts against it and so on. Okay, so let's maybe move on to the next topic. So I want to talk about like the whole concept of like superstitious beliefs and so on. Yes.
Can I just make one more comment about the story, which is that the ending
for me. I saw it almost as like a weird martyrdom type of thing. I guess I didn't know what going back to the womb of Mother Earth meant, but to me it seems kind of martyrdom. Kind of.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, you would typically expect like a happily ever after kind of story, but actually even the Mahabharata doesn't really end on a happy ever after note. It's like they all die and fall off a mountain and stuff like that at the end.
I think maybe a little bit of backstory, why going back to Mother Earth maybe.
Yeah, she got the earth, right?
Yeah.
But there is that theme that runs through, you know, Hindu epics, which is everyone's doing their duty, but then it's always, you know, lots of sadness and destruction all around.
Yeah, it's like even if you look at the Mahabharata, it's like, you know, Karna had to do his duty to, you know, Duryodhana and all the, basically like this whole thing about like boons and vows. I mean, the whole reason Rama got booted out of Ayodhya in the first place is because his father just made this, okay, I'll grant you whatever you wish, and then, you know, there are all these promises that are made, and like everyone has to stand by their word, no matter how cruel or absurd, you know, the demand is. So.
And I just want to say one more thing about this film is, you know, this film was released, I think it's been now at least 15 years, maybe longer.
No, I think it's more like 7, 8 years or something.
No,
Yeah.
I think it's longer than that. I actually know some of the people involved in the film.
Okay.
And at that time, when it was, you know, it feels very modern today, but at the time that it was released, this was a pretty, you know, political, really out there kind of statement. So I think it took a lot of courage and vision.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Let me also add one more perspective. So I grew up reading lots of Ramayana and watching lots of Ramayana in form of cartoons, in form of TV shows. And I find it very surprising that there was this one book that we had for 10th class where it was all about Ramayana, and it ended where Sita is rescued. And surprisingly, I don't seem to remember the later part of the story, and when I look at it right now in a different perspective, it seems completely it seems to me how I could actually manage through reading it for a year and writing essays and essays about Sita's purity and character and how Ram is an amazing person and things like that. Yeah. So it's interesting how this story is imbibed into the education structure in India. And I never really doubted or thought of any of the flaws that might probably exist in something that we regard in a very holy fashion.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
It's interesting actually that now that you mention it, I believe there was a Japanese animated version of it, and that was quite one of the more well-known animated versions of it. That was more, of course, like orthodox in terms of the wasn't as comedic, I suppose, or musical as this one, but it was more like it ended actually just after the trial by fire. So it was like kind of I guess it went that far as far as the purity thing, but then it stopped right after the trial by fire. They all went back to you know, Ayodhya, and there was Diwali. Everyone lived happily ever after. I think it was too sad an ending even for the Japanese. Yeah, so I also wanted to bring up like themes about other things related to like secularism and Hinduism, like about, and I guess just like Indian culture in general, which is kind of like intertwined a lot with Hinduism, like things like astrology and so-called like Vedic science, and you know, things like this that kind of affect a lot of people, because I know still there's this whole like thing about, you know, Mangliks, and there's, you know, there's stuff about like, you know, every time someone gets married, they need to get a horoscope done, and at least in many traditional families. So I want to bring up, like, does anyone have any experience with this, or know, or like any perspectives on this about like these? Yeah.
My sister, when she married, she had all the traditional stuff, and she was very, I think, almost traumatized by it. But
So your sister married
a Hindu.
Okay.
He's living here, and I guess what I said to her at the time is, your son is marrying you and moving to America to stay. His mother lives in her village, well, her not village, but she lives in Mumbai, and, you know, give her the satisfaction of dotting the I's and crossing the T's in the way that she understands. And it, you know,
Did she actually get one of the horoscope compatibility thing done?
yes.
But does that always work out? I mean, what if the
Yes.
horoscopes are compatible?
Love always wins.
So they would have done it anyway.
I think I said, you know, I said, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be fine, and it was.
Mhm.
I think it's a way, it's a,
Okay.
I don't want to offend, I don't want my comments to be offensive to anyone, so
You want to say that?
I
it's
want to
welcome?
say that I think there's a romantic ritual involved in the horoscopes, and it's a form of cultural storytelling, and if you don't, you know, it's like if someone really wants to pray for you,
Mhm.
what harm is it doing to you?
Okay.
If I may interject, I feel.
Please help me.
Yeah, I feel you're giving way too much credit where there's no credit. that people deserve for following these superstitions. This is a superstition at the end of the day.
Right, but are you going to confront your mother-in-law about
Oh,
that?
So it
absolutely.
depends on how seriously you're going to actually take it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
do people just view this as, I mean, I've taken part in many rituals across like in different cultures, but with the knowledge that people don't actually take these rituals seriously, it's more like just some kind of social thing. Right?
Exactly, it's a
It's
social
not,
construct.
it's not. So, well, it's families that, end up coming to the US or naturally belong to the more educated, more liberal families. So it's a different perspective there. But for most Indians, this actually means a lot. And this is kind of one of those things that you do before even you consider someone worthy of marrying.
So it is a gatekeeper of sorts.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but in this case, it was way too late to be a gatekeeper.
I have to say that sometimes, even though some of those things are based on astrology, for instance, actually, I had a girlfriend whose mother believed a lot of those things. But on the other hand, what I found out that a friend of mine, the mother of a friend of mine, took me to see an astrologist. What I found out that actually it is a little bit like a psychology counselor, because these people are very perceptive psychologically. They know when they talk with people what their expectations are and how the people behave and that kind of thing. They set that kind of things up. And to some degree, I am not saying that all those rationale behind how the stars and so on, but sometimes what they say about a person's characters and some of those things, I found it on some actually human interactions, okay, which may or may not be right. And some of those manipulations, I am a kind of rational person. I don't believe a lot those astrology stuff, but I found that some of these things, when you look to them, is that it's almost, if you think about it, because I have done also visited, you know, psychologists and so on, they are more like a psychologist, all right? Because these people are so used to know the basic desire, wants of people, and depending on how you talk about them, actually they make interesting observations, I find.
So anyone acquainted with this custom? Do you know if these astrologers actually interview the couple and find out what their character is like? No?
It's
No.
like, it's all predetermined by where and when you were born, so.
Also, if
Can they be paid off?
Yes.
Everyone can be paid off.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, there's always something else that you can do to take things up. And also the different kinds, I would say. Like, it's not just one kind of astrology. There are different variations. There's one kind where you just have to give them your name. And some people that I know my mom personally has gone to, where you don't even have to tell them anything, they supposedly will tell everything about you. But it's like one of the things that I've seen in, I think, Brain Games, it's a show in Discovery where it's all, as you mentioned, a bit of psychology involved as well. But I think it's more dangerous than anything else. It's like half knowledge and people, at the end of the day, it's a business. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, they want to manipulate people and make money, and you don't even know if it's good or not. In most cases, they're just making stuff up.
By the way, does anyone mind if I just record audio? Like as long as you don't have to tell me names or anything.
Yeah.
Is it okay? All right.
What is this? This vision?
This is just like a astrology chart, a very basic one. Level 1.
Are quote-unquote modern styles of astrology based on this, where there's separate groups from other cultures? Libra, Pisces, I always assumed they were sort of either Greek or Latin kind of roots, but was that borrowed from East Asian culture, or how is that manifested in its current forms, and is it, as he said, a different interpretation of the same thing, or
different cultures have different versions. Like even
I didn't know if by calling it astrology it was the same thing, or if it just means like in general, just like star reading, or like from a time kind of standpoint.
Yeah, it's like stars, planets, the works, pretty much this kind of outlets. Yeah. So moving on to the next topic about censorship. So there's a famous example. Mira Nair's Fire was banned in India. Actually, India was also incidentally the first country to ban Salman Rushdie's satanic verses, and also I believe the Da Vinci Code was banned in a couple of states in India. So the country is actually not really even fundamentally secular. As I showed you, Section 298 prohibits hurting of religious sentiments, which all you require is someone to get offended. So does anyone have any opinions on what can be done about this in terms of maybe whether this is something that can eventually go away, or is it just something that's going to just stay there and trouble us for generations to come? Or what other people can do? Yes?
I have no idea. I have no idea about the law in India. I didn't hear about it. There are things it's touched upon. I don't know that much about it. A lot of people don't know that much about Hindi in this country.
Okay.
I know that.
All right.
That's what I know. I'm just, that's just what I'm saying, because I was at the sustainability conference on water, the sustainability conference at Northeastern a few months, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And there were Indian people there talking about the law and the ecology, in India and how those sorts of things are affected, but I realized I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, I find it interesting that there isn't much pressure from countries with more liberty in this regard, like freedom of speech in terms of trying to do something about this.
There was a general banning of the retail sale of beef in India within the past year or two.
Yeah, I'm actually going to get to beef in a moment.
Okay,
that's kind of, I guess, related to public sensitivities, yeah?
So on this, I feel though India is extremely, again this is my opinion, I could be wrong about this, India is fundamentally very, very democratic, but it's not a liberal democracy as the US is or most of Western Europe is, and I think that's a fundamental difference. India can be very democratic in terms of how it accommodates people and people of different religions, backgrounds, castes, even gender now.
Yeah.
But there are fundamental problems on how to accommodate freedom of speech. The way Indian state has tackled that so far is to accommodate as many different people as possible by not offending each subgroup, but that at some point will always lead to conflict, and which is completely different from how freedom of speech is valued in the Western context.
Yeah, the secularism is just seen differently, I think.
Yeah, it's interpreted and seen differently. It's not the French sense of secularism. it's a very intertwined sense of secularism where all religions are treated equally, or the government tries to treat all religions equally as against separation of religion and state.
I found that the equally is very different from country to country. Actually, what you consider, when the U.S. think that other religions are treated equally, but you know very well that just like us and well,
Well, treated equally, I think it mainly.
Christianity is more equal than others, right? You treat it.
Like in the eyes of the law, they're treated equally, but what happens, that's a.
Yeah. So yeah. So every ethnicities are equal, except that Europeans are more equal than the others. So it depends on how you see it. If you compare to other places who have different kind of equalities, you may come in here and say, no, it is not. But when you get used to it, when they tell you it is equal, you better not argue too much about it.
Well, yeah, arguing. I mean, there's kind of like Section 298 is kind of grounded in a sort of colonial era interpretation, or this general idea actually that's still prevalent today about not rocking the boat and not creating disorder. The idea is like if you say something's offensive to someone, they will cause a riot or something, which does happen, and therefore that is bad for that's bad for everyone. Of course, if you could technically, if you could say, like, punish the person who says something that offends people, you could also punish the people who threaten to kill them and start a riot, technically, right? I mean, I was just...
the famous story around crying fire in a theater, not the limit of freedom of speech.
Okay.
You can almost say that you can claim up in any place if you want to. Just like right now, if you say something in support of quote unquote Muslim extremism, they would consider that in right daylight or that would be considered offended and not necessarily, protected speech.
If you say something in support of Muslim extremism, was that what you said?
Yeah.
Or like specifically specifically directing violence, or just?
No, but this is well known that it is okay, just like that picture down in Florida is saying, it's okay to burn the Quran, but if you have a bunch of people now, dressed like a Muslim burning the Bible, that would have a different kind of reaction around here.
Okay.
Right? So the tolerance for that kind of act, just like the Oregon occupation, these people can go to a national refuge with guns and other people get them down. So it depends on where you.
But the U.S. law would protect. The U.S. law would protect Muslims burning the Bible, if they were to do that.
In theory, yes.
But the Indian law doesn't even protect, in theory, anyone burning I don't know, Hindus' icons or anything.
There are a lot of people, like, it's supposedly every religions are equal, but except that, the fact that a large number is Christian, so Christian things are, I suppose, should not be considered offensive to anybody.
But they are.
That is why the judge put 10 commandments on the court and so on. He got fired, he got back, he does it, we get elected. It's okay, right? On the other hand, if you are going to put other religion things and start to put on the courthouse here, that would be considered quote unquote offensive, just like you're talking about, to what degree that is acceptable.
I think he was overruled on that. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was overruled.
my friend
As
visited this
far as an
episode.
infringement on an establishment of religion.
£1,000.
This is illegal.
It's unacceptable to have any, in this country, because of the separation of church and state, we're not putting the Ten Commandments on the courthouse.
So here's the thing though, in India, separation of religion and state is viewed kind of differently because it's viewed as like a law and order thing. So, like, okay, when you yell fire in a crowded theater, it's reasonable for people to rush out, but it's unreasonable for people to riot over this film, for example, or to riot over anything, burning of the Quran, burning of the Bible. It's not really, you can't argue that it's a reasonable reaction, is it? As opposed to rushing out of a theater when it's on fire.
The separation of church and state, except that in God we trust, right?
Yeah, and secularists are fighting against that.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move on to casteism. So, one of the pictures I showed you earlier is of how many of you are familiar with casteism in India, with caste discrimination? Okay, so just in brief. So it's just like this. I mean, many societies have been hierarchical throughout history. It's just like in India, this practice still continues in various forms today. It's like not quite a racial thing because like it's not so much dependent on. There is maybe some correlation with like skin color or features and things like that, but generally not. It's more of just kind of descent, profession by descent.
It breaks down at the dental school.
I'm sorry?
It breaks down at the dental school.
At the dental school?
Yeah, at the dental school, the caste system is completely done away with. Believe me.
Okay. Okay.
There's one over there.
Yeah.
We don't have one here. There's one in DU.
Yeah.
Every color and caste doesn't mean anything. As long as you get in, that's it. You'll become a dentist.
Yeah. And there's a lot of controversy because like people are trying to there's also kind of a backlash, like the governments and various identity politics are trying to for example have like caste quotas and things like that, and there's a backlash against that. So like if anyone has any opinions about casteism, like as the social strata and how to combat this, because it's like you have there are various measures, I guess, similar to affirmative action.
It's an ongoing, it's been an ongoing controversy. I don't know how much progression has gone into it. I just gave my opinion about the dental school. I think that people in the dental school are aware that it's a, what is it called, a system where you earn your way, and the caste system is supposed to be done with, but people are aware of it, that it existed in their family very recently. That's all I know. Am I right?
Is it mostly based on religious
It was very strong.
understanding, or is there a socioeconomic?
There's a strong religious
And
component.
has that changed over time to be more economic based, or is it still very entrenched in kind of like maybe family lineage, or how does that propagate itself to keep going?
There are economic consequences to it. The lower castes are obviously like economically disadvantaged. I mean, money is power and all that. But there are poor Brahmins. There are poor like various so-called upper castes as well. There are people who are less privileged, I suppose, relatively.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like in school cafeterias, for example, they'll serve the upper caste kids first, and they'll serve the lower caste kids afterwards, and so on.
Yeah. Does casteism affect expatriate Indians, or do you kind of leave that behind when you? Because it's a social construct in India. It doesn't exist here, but maybe doesn't exist in the Indian community here in a way that I would not be aware of.
Does anyone?
I know that my clinic there was very a young nurse who was going to get married, but she had to go find dates in the big Gujarati conference where all these Gujaratis meet and pair up and so on. But her parents, even in India, had some say over what she was going to do.
Okay, what does
There
that?
was a certain class that she was not going to go to marry, for example.
Okay.
Yeah, I
She knew
think that
that.
people are aware of its legacy, and you come to America, And, you know, like I said, the dental school example was really good because it shows that like merit is important, but people still remember things like skin color, their family, their economic background. They don't, they go aware of it.
Okay.
The legacy is still there.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to point out.
Okay, let's quickly go through the last discussion point. So I just want to quickly touch on like what you mentioned about the beef thing.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about that till
Okay, so cow slaughter is actually banned in most states in India, except like a couple, and some in the northeast and some in the south. It's like, of course, some people just say it's like, you know, how in some places horse slaughter is banned, or how some places dog slaughter is banned, and so on. Yeah, so I just wanted to get your opinions on, is that a good counter-argument?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay.
We don't eat dogs or cats, it's a
Yeah.
cultural thing. What, do you see, I'm not sure what the issue that you're raising.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, like, is this like, because this is definitely religiously grounded.
I didn't know it was such a big issue that would be brought up at this event, because I only heard of it recently, you know.
So that last year, someone was killed just because it was, where was it? I think it was in.
It was rumored that this person had beef in his house, and so a bunch of villagers came and killed the person.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
this is just one-off incident, I would say, it's not
Okay, okay.
annual in Hindu culture.
Yeah, no, but like, does it happen in like isolated villages where I guess like they would be more religious and the culture community pressure is bigger?
More so, yeah,
Are we talking about like main cities, right?
no, not much in.
You don't want to hit a cow with your car.
All right, I think we'll just I think it's getting quite late, so we'll just cut the discussion short. Anyway, just two things I want to plug. Of course, the film itself and Nina Paley's work. That's Liquid Comics. Shekhar Kapoor directed that. That's the comic version of the Ramayana. I actually have a copy myself. And I would also recommend Moli Art. He's an artist who specializes in like Hindu mythology and stuff. He's done that. That's actually his rendition of Rama. With a beard and wearing deer skin, which is actually scripturally, he does this very like scripturally accurate. Many people are not aware, they see this clean-cut Rama in the Ramanand Sagar's TV series, and think like Rama is this clean-cut guy who only wears like saffron robes, but actually he's a dreadlocked guy with a beard, and he ate deer meat and wore deer skins according to scripture. So, or at least some of the scriptures. And quickly want to do the raffle. So that's the print that I'll be raffling off. Just a quick. So how many? Okay, all of you want to be in the raffle? Anyone doesn't want to be in the raffle? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Can you remember your numbers?
I didn't know we were supposed to remember.
Yeah.
Do it again then?
Okay, remember your numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Let's quickly do this one.
Yeah, I could figure out that.
Who's number 7?
I think
Okay. Congratulations, you won a print from the film.
Thank you.
Can you take a picture of us?
Sure, yeah.
If it's not a photo, it didn't happen.